injured guys that are on offense. Washington's dealing with a lot of injuries and COVID issues on their defensive side, especially at defensive end. So this might be a situation where they're trying to get Zeke out on the edge, try to see if he can get some space. But just I think the volume alone means you got to put him in your lineup.
Yeah, I think also this could mean more passes for Zeke because we know Tony Pollard takes a lot away. And I especially think it means good things for the wide receivers there as well, just because I think they're going to have to throw the ball more with their running backs a little banged up now.
Well, and the Cowboys being really optimistic and happy about Ezekiel Elliott earlier this week, saying he's getting healthier and healthier. Good news, because just a few weeks ago they said they were going to limit his role, but it's looking like it'll be all Zeke today against the FT. Marcus, I have some good news for you, though.
Okay.
Your San Francisco 49ers, they get a guy back on the field today named Deebo Samuel. He is expected to play against the Bengals. So fantasy managers, they get him in the lineup, right?
Yeah, apparently he's telling people at fast food joints that he's going to play. I don't know if that's what they asked him, but yeah, he said he's going to play. So that's good. That's good news for him. It's good news for the 49ers. It might potentially be bad news for Jamichael Hastie, who I thought was kind of a sleeper this week. It looks like Jeff Wilson's going to get the started running back, but the way the Niners have been using Deebo the last few weeks has been primarily as a running back. So this could be a situation where it's Wilson and Deebo splitting time in the backfield, and maybe we don't see as much Hastie. It also probably means a few more targets for Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, they were like, what do you want with your, do you want a side of fries with that? And he was like, hey, don't worry, man, I'm playing tomorrow.
That's cool, you're holding up the line, sir.
I agree, though. Deebo plays, you play Deebo, Kittle's playing there. I think Brandon Ayuk is a little bit deeper. He's like a wide receiver 2 or 3 now, but I'm excited for this 49ers offense.
I just hope the fast food joint wasn't Chipotle. We saw how that ended up earlier this season for some guys. Some more good news, since we had so much bad news earlier. It's that Julio Jones, he is active today, Michael F. Florio. The Titans getting some more help on offense. It's been a struggle the last few weeks. They're taking on Jacksonville. What do we do with a healthy Julio?
I'm playing Julio Jones anywhere I have him, which is in quite a few leagues because I was very bullish on Julio coming into the year. It's been kind of a lost year, but they are saying this is the healthiest Julio Jones has been all year because his injuries go back to training camp. So if we're finally going to get a healthy Julio, no A.J. Brown still, I think Julio Jones could get you 9, 10, maybe even more targets this week. So if he's getting that sort of volume, he has to be in your lineup.
Right in time for fantasy playoffs. Marcus, you seem, I don't know, not as keen.
I want to be so optimistic because I do have Julio in a lot of spots too. I'm with him. And I'm probably playing him. The way the season has gone, it's just been such a letdown. Like, I'm so disappointed. So, like, I want to believe. I'm trying to keep the faith. Don't break my heart again, please. That's all I'm asking.
I mean, what could be worse, though, than this season? Like, Julio Jones, like, starting him and being like, darn, I got to start Julio. Like, a lot of worse things have happened here.
I mean, Julio, Allen Robinson, they're sort of in the same boat, right? Like, yeah, we're all excited. It's just been like, so.
Come on, fantasy gods, why do bad things happen to us? But speaking of the fantasy playoffs, because Julio gets to suit up, Deebo Samuel as well, maybe that'll help some people get into the playoffs. You guys are clearly the pros here, you know, each making 3 or 4 playoff teams. Nice little humble brag. We need some last-minute advice for fantasy managers who are looking to get that push into the playoffs. So, Marcus, start us off.
I think this applies most weeks of the year, but especially this week. Set it and forget it. Like, just make your decisions with your lineup. Set your lineup, hit save, put the phone down and walk away. Like, don't spend your whole time tinkering. I mean, we got, what, about 50 minutes or so, 55 minutes until kickoff. Don't spend that time tinkering because you're just going to be heartbroken if something. Just set it. It's like the menu at the Cheesecake Factory. Pick what you want, close the menu, and just let it go.
my one, it's similar to that, but it's a little different. If I played like Dalvin Cook, or especially if I played like Dalvin Cook and KJ Osborne, and I'm down big, then I'm going to try to get some upside play into my lineup. Otherwise, I'm like Marcus, man. I'm setting the best lineup I possibly can. I'm feeling good about it, and I'm praying that it works out in my favor because that's really all we can do.
Listen, I'm just going to take an L, and I'm just going to rock with it because I've taken an L for the last 2 years straight, and it is okay. Life is weird. I still had fun this season, and I can't wait to see.
She's dominating our league. Don't listen
She's
to
like
her.
Totally dominating our fantasy.
I am in the second spot, but, you know, it's okay. Just a nice little humble brag here. It's time now for Waiver Wire, presented by KFC. You know, we all need some Waiver Wire heroes, and these are some targets here ahead of Week 14. Some guys who are still available in about 50% of NFL.com leagues. If you need a quarterback, there's 2 who can both run the ball. It's Cam Newton and Taysom Hill, Deontay Foreman, Sony Michel, Van Jefferson, because we still believing in Russell Gage and Cole Kmet. So waiver wire hero, week 14, a guy that fantasy managers can depend on, grab him, and then set it and forget
There you
it.
go. I'm going off board. I'm going with Austin Hooper. And we haven't talked about Austin Hooper a lot, understandably, this year, right? Because the tight end position, one, has been kind of thin. The Browns have not really utilized it a whole lot. But Austin Hooper is the only healthy tight end for the Browns right now. I mean, unless they went back into the past and they pulled out like Ozzie Newsome. But he's like in his 70s, and I don't think that would work out. Anyway, the point being, this is a situation where the Browns' passing game has been inconsistent. They're looking for some kind of targets to get the football to. The Ravens have struggled against the tight end position, so this could be a nice streaming opportunity for Austin Hooper.
I like that call there with Hooper. Mine's a little off menu, a little not though, because you saw a couple of backup running backs who are popular pickups now.
Yes.
My thing is go and get your starting running backs handcuffed. Like, every week we see a running back go down due to injury or illness or anything, and then the top waiver wire pickups are that player's backup. So if you're already in the playoffs or you think you have a chance of making it, go out and get your backup now, because you don't want to be in a position where if something happens to your starter, you may not be able to get his backup. You want them now, especially with the bye weeks now behind us.
Well, speaking of backup running backs, I had Derrick Henry. I'm sure a lot of you guys did as well. Then he got injured and everything kind of went to crap for me and the Titans. But hey, what about Deontay Foreman, right? We kind of finally figured out this running game for the Tennessee Titans, and they have a decent matchup against Jacksonville today. I like Deontay Foreman, and I like the volume he's seen. 13-plus touches in 2 of the last 3 games. And guess what? Jacksonville and Urban Meyer, they're not so great at stopping the run. They've allowed top 8 fantasy running backs in 2 of the last 3 games. I just need him to get me a safe floor, just a minimum like 10 fantasy points, and I will feel really good. So just do that for me, guys. But those are some waiver wire heroes for you ahead of week 14. It's time now for 15 for 15, presented by Geico. Let's go ahead and go through our must-starts at the quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end position. I'm going to start off with you. That first name I love on your list, Marcus.
I'm sure you do. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes going against the Raiders. Cam Newton, I think, is in a good spot with the Panthers allegedly wanting to run the football more. I think that works out well for him. Taysom Hill, because Jets. Derek Carr on the other side. I know the Chiefs have been playing better, but Derek Carr has been really good throwing the football, and so I think that continues. And then Joe Burrow, hopefully that pinky has been popped back into place, and he's going to be fine. But let's talk about Patrick Mahomes.
Let's do that.
Here's the thing. I know it seems like duh, it's Patrick Mahomes, but it's not really so duh, because he hasn't quite been the Patrick Mahomes that we expected this year. In fact, he's kind of been down the list of top-scoring quarterbacks for the last few weeks. The Chiefs' offense has kind of been sputtering a little bit. But if there's ever a chance for him to get right, it's against the Raiders, just because he has really owned them in his career, especially in the last couple of years. It's some of his biggest performances. In fact, one of his biggest performances this season came against the Raiders. So this feels like a chance for him to sort of get healthy, for the Chiefs' offense as a whole to kind of get healthy today.
Gosh, I love it. You get all the bonus points from me this morning, Florio. I want to see some must-start running backs for you.
Yeah, Javonte Williams, I mean, he was the RB1 last week. I think even with Melvin Gordon back, he gets a lot of work. Alvin Kamara, because Jets. Let's just go with that.
I sense a theme.
Cordell Patterson, because he's just, even in a tough matchup, I think he is matchup-proof. CEH, I'm expecting a big day for all of the Chiefs like you are, Marcus. And then Josh Jacobs on the other side of it. Josh Jacobs has been running well as of late. There's no Kenyon Drake anymore, unfortunately. He is done for the year. But the thing is, even if the Raiders fall behind, typically in the past, that meant Josh Jacobs was getting game scripted out. Not anymore. He had 9 targets last week, 7 a couple weeks before that. So he's clearly getting more usage in the passing game. And because of that, I think it not only gives him a safe floor that you could trust, I think it gives him a high ceiling as well. He's finally starting to look like an RB1 that so many hoped he could be.
Boo, you just lost points for talking about a Raider. No, just kidding. We do like Josh Jacobs this week. I need some help with some pass catchers, Marcus. Who are some guys with some good matchups that we feel good starting?
All right, let's work this out. It's scary Terry McLaurin, because, well, he's just good at his job. So we're going to put him up there. Darnell Mooney, I still like him a lot. I know Allen Robinson is expected to play on Sunday Night Football against the Packers, but Darnell Mooney really has stepped up. He has become the sleeper wide receiver that we thought he would be at the beginning of the year. Jarvis Landry, I mentioned there just aren't a whole lot of consistent targets there, and Jarvis Landry is going to get some work. But let's go back and talk about T. Higgins right there against the 49ers, because he really has sort of taken over the role of the wide receiver one in Cincinnati. It was Jamar Chase early in the season, but lately defenses have really been trying to take the big play out of Cincinnati's arsenal, and by doing that by bracketing Jamar Chase. So in that place, Joe Burrow's starting to get the ball to T. Higgins. It's kind of sad. Tyler Boyd has really just not made an impact, but T. Higgins, I think regardless of the matchup, is going to get a lot of looks today.
The wide receiver one over the last 2 weeks. Didn't see that on our fantasy bingo card, but we like it. I also like some must-start tight ends who are matchup-proof. Give me some.
Dawson Knox and Gronk going head-to-head against each other. I think both of them are matchup-proof, even in what on paper might look like tough matchups. Dalton Schultz, I said earlier, I think the Cowboys pass a lot with their running backs banged up. TJ Hawkinson was on the list. Unfortunately, he might not be suiting up today. And then Cole Kmet there at number 5. And I know Allen Robinson is now back. That takes a little bit of the shine away from Kmet, but he has been getting consistent volume as of late. And I think this is a game where the Bears are going to have to be throwing the ball. So I think that means we'll see a good amount of volume for Mooney, for Robinson, and for Cole Kmet. So if you're going a little bit deeper than, say, the top 10, I think Kmet is a tight end you could stream this week.
And he's getting his quarterback, Justin Fields, back on the field. Rival game. It's fun. I like the Cole Kmet pick, guys. We have so much more in store, including our definitely must-starts. That's coming up here after the break. We want to make sure your lineups are set. Also, some fan question love. Florio, this is one of your favorite receivers in the league, CeeDee Lamb.
Top 5.
Head Bob, aren't making TikToks maybe? Nick Chubb, there he is. A rematch against the Baltimore Ravens. I have no idea what is happening here. I'm assuming it's a stretch. Very weird, but I like it. As long as it means he'll be good.
Hunt.
I know.
That would have been even better,
I know.
right?
We'll be right
Friends
back,
helping
guys.
friends.
NFL Fantasy Game Day. Welcome back into NFL Fantasy Game Day presented by Geico. It's Derek Carr. Our producers are really spoiling me today. A lot of Raider and Chief action, hoping he doesn't have
It's a pretty sweet uniform matchup, by the way.
It is.
If the Chiefs are wearing their red and the Raiders are wearing their white, that's a pretty cool uniform.
It's a very crisp game. We like that. Okay, on the other side of the
We're
ball.
just going to keep it going, huh?
I love you, Jeff Lasucci. Today it's Tyreque Hill looking to get it done versus Vegas. It's always kind of a tease.
What's in his pouch there that he's trying to not
I don't
lose?
know, but
This
that
is-
Does he have his
wasn't.
phone or something on him?
That wasn't a good look, Tyreek Hill. We can see you. We are watching you. Eyes everywhere.
legs are so
Curious who
jacked.
will have the bigger game today, though. Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce? I feel like both guys can pop. Two things can be true.
Two things can be true. I'm going to go with Travis Kelce because I think I have him in more lineups.
Yeah?
Same. He also has the better career numbers. They both do well against him, but Kelce just does a little bit better.
We're going to talk about Travis Kelce later in the show. Let's call the tease, baby. As a reminder, don't forget to send us your questions at NFL Fantasy on Twitter or in the comment section on YouTube. We're answering them live, and we're getting to some live on the show right now. Marcus, starting with you.
Yep.
Jamar Chase or Hunter Rinfrow? It doesn't seem like it should even be a logical question, but Rinfrow has outshined Chase the last 3 out of 5 weeks, one of them being the Bengals' bye.
So this may sound like a cop-out answer, but it depends on what you need, right? If you need to be aggressive, if you need to score a lot of points, I think it's Jamar Chase because he has a higher ceiling. If the rest of your lineup looks like they're in a position to score a lot and you just need a safe, quality floor play, then it's Hunter Rinfrow. So I think you kind of, like I said, I know it feels like a cop-out, but I would check the rest of my lineup and see how you feel about that before you make that decision.
Okay, next one for you, Florio. PPR League. I have Zeke or James Conner at the running back spot. Also have Alvin Kamara. I could trade Zeke or Conner in for T. Higgins at the flex as well. That's a decent
Ooh,
lineup.
this is a humble brag with all these names you're throwing out here. I think you got to go with both running backs, though. I would get T. Higgins out of the flex. As much as I like T. Higgins, I just think the volume is safer there for the 2 running backs. I'm starting Conner even if Chase Edmonds plays, too.
But I don't think this guy has any problem. I think you'll be okay with any of those guys. But get your starting running backs in there. And T. Higgins out of the flex. Coming back around for you, another T. Higgins question. Terry McLaurin or T. Higgins? This is his dilemma this week.
I go with Terry McLaurin. I think he just has a higher ceiling. I like Higgins. I talked about him just a little while ago. But I also, on that list, I had Terry McLaurin higher on the list. So that's where I would go.
Okay, last one for you, Florio. Flex help. Kareem Hunt, Brandon Cooks, or Jeff Wilson. Full point PPR. Currently in third. Need all of the wins I can get.
How are you in third at 4 and 7? That's my question. But I would go with Jeff Wilson of the 3. Brandon Cooks, look, it's Davis Mills. I don't really want anything to do with him. I like Kareem Hunt as a flex play, but I think Jeff Wilson could get like 18 to 20 touches with no Elijah Mitchell this week. So Kyle Shanahan run game, I want a part of that.
Okay, continue to send us your questions. We will continue to get to them on the show. We got our phones out. I got my iPad out. It's time to get our burners out because we have some fantasy DMs. Not weird messages. These are instead our definitely must-starts. Some guys who we feel like deserve some playing time. So, Marcus, who's your fantasy DM this week?
We're going back to Saquon. And I know, it's been a slog for Saquon this year. I know. It has not been what we wanted, right? He's been injured for a long time. He has underperformed when he's been healthy. The Giants' offense has been a train wreck for a good part of the season. But this is a get-right opportunity. The Chargers have one of the worst run defenses in the league. I think for the Giants, I don't know if you want to put the ball in the hands of Mike Glennon 30 times. That feels like a recipe for disaster. So this could be a situation where they're trying to establish the run. They get Saquon going early if possible. And even if they fall behind, you can still throw the ball to Saquon out of the backfield. So this feels like a real good chance for him to put up a good number.
He had 9 targets last week. My definite must-start is Van Jefferson. I'm all about Van Jefferson. Now, I know Marcus has been leading the hype train, but I think Van Jefferson is the new Robert Woods and Odell Beckham is the new Van Jefferson. And what I mean by that is like the consistent volume seems to be going Van Jefferson's way. He has 8 or more targets in 2 straight. He's topped 16 fantasy points in each of those. And you see there 7 or more in 4 straight games. He's averaging over 14 fantasy points since Robert Woods went down. I know it's a little bit of a tough matchup on paper, but I'm still trusting McVay and Stafford and the Rams offense, so I think it leads to a good day for Van Jefferson as well.
I think all 3 of us have been like, Van Jefferson, he's still a thing.
Love it.
Please continue to make him a thing. Honestly, I just want him to show out and maybe gets picked up by another team in the offseason, and then he's really a thing in our fantasy lives. So I love that one. My fantasy DM, I'm manifesting, guys. I think you'll like this one. It's James Robinson.
Yes,
Urban Meyer.
Let's do it.
What do you have against James Robinson? And please let him be great going up against the Tennessee Titans today. If we see and look back at history, back in Week 5, these 2 teams faced each other, and James Robinson had such a good game. He had just shy of 150 rushing yards. He got in the end zone. That ended him with nearly 22 fantasy points. That's a top 12 fantasy performance at the running back spot. My only concern here is what's going on with Urban putting him on the bench and not getting him back in the game. But hey, when your starting quarterback says, I want this guy on the field, I need this guy on the field, maybe a little fire is under Urban Meyer's butt to get him in the lineup.
Trevor Lawrence subscribes to the theory that our pal Matt Harmon has Just give it to your good players.
Give it to your good players.
Just give it to your good players.
Give it to James Robinson, Baker Mayfield getting his stretch on, trying to strategize. Who are my good players? Who are my targets here? We said Jarvis Landry earlier, but hey, probably a good run game against the Ravens. It's Taylor Heineke looking to go up against the Dallas Cowboys. I think this game is going to be crazy competitive and crazy fun. We got more crazy fun stuff coming up next on NFL Fantasy Game Day. Welcome back into NFL Fantasy Game Day presented by Geico. Lamar Jackson taking on the Cleveland Browns.
He's good at
Cleveland.
football.
What'd you say?
He's good at football.
He's very good at football. Do we still
all right.
think he's in the MVP conversation this season?
I don't think he is. I mean, they've kind of been slumping lately, so I think that sort of takes him out of it, but that doesn't mean he's not good at football.
No, I can't wait to see him run all over this team right here, the Cleveland Browns. Jarvis Landry being one of the only healthy targets. We've talked him up, also talking up Austin Hooper. I just want this game to be better than the game we saw a few weeks ago between these two teams. Where it was like turnover, 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 turnover. Lamar Jackson had 4 interceptions and still won. Crazy things happen in this year. As a reminder, Kimmy Checks, Marcus Grant, Michael F. Florio. We're continuing to get your lineup set and get you ready for Week 14, just 1 week shy of the fantasy playoffs. As a reminder, let's take a look at our notable actives and inactives. The big one is that Tony Pollard, he is out, as is David Johnson, Elijah Moore, and Darren Waller. J.D. McKissick inactive. The only good news there, Brandon Cooks is suiting up to play. Looking at our later games, DeAndre Swift, Elijah Mitchell, and Randall Cobb, those guys are out. Huge news for T.J. Hawkinson. He is doubtful. Debo, he's questionable, but looking like he's going to suit up and play. And T. Higgins also expecting to play, as is Joe Mixon. If anything changes, we will let you know here live on the show. But it's time now for burning questions, right? Some questions on all fantasy managers' mind. And we started the show by taking a look at Lamar Jackson. And it turns out that he's not been a top 10 quarterback in 3 straight games, which is weird for the former MVP. So can he get back on track and back in the top 10 against the Cleveland Browns today, Marcus?
I'm trying to turn over a new leaf and be optimistic. So I'm going to say yes.
Yay!
I mean, I don't think it's going to be as bad as it was the last time these teams played, as you mentioned. I think he had 4 interceptions in that game.
Yeah,
I don't see that happening again. I think the Ravens realize that they've got to get some things going. They still have a chance to win this division, so I think it starts today, and I think Lamar is going to be the catalyst.
Yeah, I think so too. That 4-interception game, he said after, that was the first game he played after missing a game with that virus. He was like, I wasn't at full strength. Last week it was against the Steelers. We know weird things happen when those teams play, so I'm still trusting Lamar.
Okay, so we're feeling good that Lamar can coast his way back into the top 10. Obviously, he's a start today. Now, our next burning question, it's regarding A.J. Dillon. Really glad Rink's on the show today. He's like, I don't matter about the Packers. But A.J. Dillon, he's been a top 15 running back in 3 straight games. Can he make it 4 tonight versus the Bears, Florio? What are we thinking?
I don't think so.
Really?
Because Aaron Jones is back, and it is maybe a game where it's a blowout and he does get more volume than I am anticipating, but I think he's purely like a flex option this week because I'm thinking Jones is going to get the large majority of the work there again. And Aaron Rodgers loves throwing when they get near the goal line, too.
Okay.
I'm sort of with Florio on this one. I think just having Jones there sort of hurts. And, you know, Aaron Rodgers seems to take personal pleasure in tormenting the Bears. So I could see him, you know, throwing a couple touchdowns when they're down close, or even, you know, he may even take one himself and just run it in himself, too. That's always possible. So I think he has a decent game. I think Dillon will see some opportunities, but top 15 seems a little too rich this week.
Okay, interesting. You say that Aaron Rodgers likes to, you know, go up and do things against the Chicago Bears. Didn't he say he owns them?
I mean, look, this is like
something like that.
Sometimes, you know, it's like a chance for him to kind of see his team now and, you know, see what the status is.
A.J. Dillon is a part owner of the Packers now, too.
Oh.
Yeah, he bought stock.
A little more pep in his step to go off against the Chicago Bears. Those were some burning questions we had.
Did they just take that out of his check or
but
something?
It's time now for Fantasy Insurance, presented by Geico. We all love sleepers when they hit, which sometimes they do, sometimes they're a miss, but we need them to hit today. It's week 14. I need to get in the fantasy playoffs. Who's a guy we should not be sleeping on and get instead into our lineup?
I promise you that I'm not trying to suck up to the host when I say stuff like this, but it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
You guys are spoiling me.
Like
this is the best day
I
ever.
promise that this is not on purpose, but this is. I do think he's in a good situation. You know, I was saying earlier in the week, one of my bold predictions is that he was going to have a pair of touchdowns. He only has 1 2-touchdown game in his career. That was last year, Week 11, against this same Raider team. The Raider run defense has really started to struggle over the last month or so, and so I think this is a situation where CEH can sort of take advantage of this. I think that, like I said, I said earlier, I think this is a get healthy game for the Chiefs, and that includes Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah, I have him in quite a few leagues, so I'm very invested in the Chiefs here, but my sleeper is Amir Abdullah, and ideally, I would like him as a sleeper that you could pick up and kind of stash on your bench, not have to start. But if you have to start him, I think he's a solid flex option. The Falcons struggle against running backs. He has been the pass-catching back, actually, as of late, behind CMC, not Chuba Hubbard. And they keep saying they want to run the ball more. So I think that likely leads to 2 running backs getting involved. So I think he is a solid flex option with a little bit of upside.
Okay. Well, since you guys are giving some running back love, I'm going to give some love to a guy who's a quarterback but really knows how to run the ball well. And I'm not looking at last week's performance and freaking out. 2 weeks ago performance and freaking out. It's Cam Newton versus the Falcons. We all kind of need some help at the quarterback spot at times. Me especially, with some of my guys banged up or me just not feeling great about them. I'm crazy enough to start Cam Newton over Russell Wilson this week. And I know it sounds weird, but you see right here, 14 rushing touchdowns in the last 17 games. You know who he's facing today? The Atlanta Falcons. You know what the Atlanta Falcons aren't good at? Well, their defense.
That's a lot of things, but
I wasn't going to go there, but you went there. So Cam Newton, a good sleeper for me today in Week 14.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
I just hope that I can win a fantasy matchup every single week. It's time now for I Told You So. Maybe you would be winning games or headed into the playoffs if you listen to us. So since this is the season of giving, we wanted to take a little time to congratulate ourselves for the things that we got right. So Florio, starting off with you, what did you tell us about?
Not a whole lot, but in the first round, there were 2 players that I was saying, like, these are the 2 guys that you should be targeting in the first round. I had them both in the top 5, Jonathan Taylor and Austin Eckler. And I'm feeling great because right now they are the RB1 and RB2 on the season. And the thing is, yes, I know a lot of the other running backs got hurt. These 2 stayed healthy. That's a big part of fantasy, but they're also playing extremely well. They're getting used in the passing game. They're getting a lot of usage near the goal line. I think right now, if you have either one of those 2 on your roster, you have a great chance of winning a championship.
Yeah, I mean, this was great. I mean, I think for you, Jonathan Taylor was like, do I just draft him first overall or not? Like, that was the only debate you had there. This is one where sometimes you don't want to be right, but sometimes it just sort of happens that way. I didn't believe Kyle Pitts was going to be a top 5 tight end this year. And I know everybody loved him. I mean, at some point, I really thought his birth certificate had the word unicorn on it because people just kept saying that with him.
I've never heard that.
I know, right? It's so new. It's just part of it is because, you know, the history of rookie tight ends is such that just seemed like a really high ceiling. The other part is that we have seen as the season has progressed, especially as the Falcons have lost weapons. They don't have Calvin Ridley. The running game hasn't really materialized. I know Cordell Patterson's been good, but it's just not what they anticipated. Teams have really just made it a point to take Kyle Pitts away. And aside from a couple of big games in the middle of the season, we've reached the point now where people are wondering, can we even keep him on our roster?
Yeah.
I thought his ceiling was maybe a top 8 tight end. He's just outside of that right now. It just felt like asking a lot, even out of a player as talented as Kyle Pitts. And we've seen it just has not come to fruition this year. I wish I was wrong, but I'm not.
No, but we also kind of understand that it takes a few years for tight ends to really get adjusted to the offense. But hey, good job for you being like, you know what? I don't think it's going to happen this year. You can be a unicorn, but not
this year.
Yeah, it's okay. I told you so. I'm like really proud of myself, guys. I am impulsive, right? I'm impulsive. I just do things. I don't think about it. I used to be the psycho that would go up and reach for my quarterback in fantasy football. But guys, this season I said, listen, I'm going to tell you, you can wait on a quarterback and still be fine. And that still holds today. So yes, round of applause to me. I didn't go up and reach for Patrick Mahomes. No, I didn't. And that's okay. Because if you look and see some guys who are all within the top 14 quarterbacks this season, it's some random names like Kirk Cousins, Carson Wentz, excuse me, no one saw that happening, as well as Derek Carr. So you know what? You don't always have to go up and reach for the guys like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. They're great, but there's some other guys that you can get later in the draft and instead stash your good running backs and wide receivers. All right, coming up next on NFL Fantasy Game Day, we got our favorite flex starts. I would love to see this guy flex. So strong. Ezekiel Elliott, Tyreek Hill, you guys are spoiling.
Oh, he changed.
This is getting absolutely insane. Tyreek Hill, number 10 for the Kansas City Chiefs. We will be back with our flexes and so much more. See you guys in a few. Welcome back into NFL Fantasy Game Day presented by Geico. This is obnoxious.
This is like the only game that's happening today, apparently. Huh?
I mean, in my head, you're correct. It is, but that guy right there, Patrick Mahomes, still the QB6 on the season in terms of fantasy quarterback. Not too shabby for the former MVP. Looking at the Cleveland Browns, we got Baker out there, we got Kareem Hunt out there. Guys getting stretched and ready.
DPJ sleeper, just saying.
Who's the sleeper?
Donovan Peoples-Jones, I think.
You guys, we've always stan Donovan. I just like to say the name, Donovan Peoples-Jones. But hey, there's a bonus sleeper for you guys. As a reminder, Kibby Checks, Marcus Grant, Michael F. Florio, continue to tweet us and ask us your questions. We're going to get to a few more later on in the show. But for now, I've got my muscles ready. This is like the weakest flex ever. Fantasy flexes. These are guys that you can get in your flex and hopefully can get you a safe floor of some double-digit fantasy points. So flex it out. Marcus,
We're going to flex it up with Jarvis Landry this week.
Okay.
Again, we keep saying, I don't know if you guys have heard us say this, but the Browns are looking for some people to throw the football to.
Are
they don't have a whole lot of them. I mean, look, I talked about Austin Hooper. Florio just mentioned DPJ. Let's talk about Jarvis Landry, who presumably is the top target in the Cleveland offense. And I think, look, this could end up being like a weirdly high-scoring game. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, which means we may see Baker delivering the ball to Jarvis Landry quite a bit. And look, however you feel about PPR, Jarvis Landry is sort of that one guy who is good in PPR because he may catch 10 passes for 30 yards.
10 yards.
Something like that. It's gonna happen. It'll be gross, but it'll be a whole lot of fantasy points, and it's fine.
Yeah, and those fantasy points still count.
They count.
Yeah. My fantasy flex this week is MVS, because we keep saying how the Packers love to thrive against the Bears and Aaron Rodgers is going to air the ball out. Well, who's he going to throw the ball to other than Davonte Adams? Lately, it's been MVS. 19 targets in his last 2 games with at least 9 in each of them. We already know he's a good field stretcher, so if they're taking some downfield throws, expect them to go to him. But the added volume just makes him a safer floor as well. So I think he is a really strong flex option this week.
All right, well, for my flex, you're going to have to wait until tomorrow on Monday Night Football with the
I thought you were going to wait till tomorrow to tell us. I was like, wait, what?
Yes, tomorrow.
I'll tweet it out.
See you guys and let you know. No, tomorrow you'll have to see these teams and these guys face off. It is Odell Beckham Jr. taking on the Cardinals. Earlier, you guys said Van Jefferson is the old Robert Woods and OBJ is the old Van Jefferson. Guess what? I always flexed Van Jefferson, and we saw that Odell Beckham Jr. is getting some shine in this offense, right? He's no Cooper Kupp, but in his 3 games, he's had, around 18 targets, at least 2 back-to-back touchdown games, 180-plus receiving yards. Yes, he's not the shiny thing, but he's the shiny new thing, and he's still getting the ball. So I like this. I like the matchup. They want to give some love to the guy who moved from Cleveland to Los Angeles, right? That's
much like the Rams did, moving from Cleveland to Los Angeles.
Look at this. This is all wild how everything comes together. It's time now, guys, for Who Scores, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. And Marcus, I'm going to start with you because we all love the GOAT. Maybe. It's Tom Brady. He is the GOAT, and he leads the quarterbacks in fantasy points this season. But, however, he's never been the highest scoring fantasy quarterback. So can he be the QB1 against his Buffalo Bills?
I don't think so. It doesn't mean he can't have a good game necessarily, but I don't think he's going to be the QB1 this week. It's kind of interesting because this game is sort of the unstoppable force against the immovable object, right? The Bucs have the best passing game, or one of the best passing offenses in the league right now. Meanwhile, though, the Bills have one of the best pass defenses in the NFL. So it is going to be curious to see, what work. It is sort of like, the Wolverine's adamantium claws against Captain America's vibranium shield. Like, which one defeats the other one? I know I'm nerding out here. I don't care. But like I said,
we love your nerding.
I think he can have a good game, but I don't think it's going to be a QB1 overall type game.
Okay, well, DraftKings has Tom Brady projected to have right around 306.5 passing yards. So what's your fantasy projection for him today?
I've got him right around 18 points, maybe 19, something like that, which, again, it's not a bad day. It's not a terrible day, but it's not, you're not going to have the QB1 overall kind of numbers if you're only putting up 18, 19 points. So I also think this would be a game where we see a lot of them running the football.
Yeah.
The Bills have given up a lot of yards on the ground, so this could be a heavy Leonard Fournette day, too.
4 tutties?
I don't think it's going to be 4 tutties for Fournette. That would be bad news for the Bills if that happened.
It would be the 33rd time Tom Brady's beaten them in his career.
Sorry to beat up on your team, Florio. Let's just change the subject altogether then so we can get Florio happy. Now, Russell Gage, he's had more targets than Kyle Pitts in 3 straight games. We were talking about the unicorn earlier, so let's stick with it here. Can Kyle Pitts get it going against the Panthers today?
Maybe. I don't love Kyle Pitts as a play this week, but last I checked, he is a tight end, and tight end is the grossest position in football. So because of that, he's still in my top 12 because the volume he gets, and I don't know. I don't love starting Kyle Pitts, but I don't think you could find a tight end on the waiver wire that you would rather play over him.
Okay, well, DraftKings has him right around 45.5 receiving yards. So what's a good fantasy projection for him
I think
today?
that's a great number. I haven't projected for 8.5 fantasy points. I was thinking something like 4 catches for 45 yards. So it's somewhere in that range. Does he have more upside? Yes. But at this point, can we bank on that upside? No.
Okay, that was Who Scores, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the NFL. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and use the promo code WHOSCORES to claim your deposit bonus up to $1,000. You must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only as well. A bonus comprised of a first deposit bonus and a first bet match, each up to $500. Deposit bonus requires 25 times playthrough. Restrictions, they do apply, so go ahead and see DraftKings.com/sportsbook for more details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Coming up, we have our final fantasy advice. Will it include a Cleveland Brown? I don't know. You got to stick with us and see. Our crystal football is coming out as we project our top scores. Nerd alert, I love Travis Kelce. I love the Kansas City Chiefs. Our final advice coming up right after this. Dak Prescott again. These are some fun games today. This NFC East rival game is going to get wild.
He has his own bench to sit on because the Cowboys brought their benches with them to
Washington bench not.
Why?
Apparently it's not good enough, I guess.
Why? No, you guys, we were doing so good showing Kansas City Chiefs. Why do we have to go to Derek Carr? What is this punishment?
Well, his brother works here.
Oh, well.
So that has something.
I love Derek Carr then. Hey, shout out to David Carr as well. 15 minutes to kick off, presented by Geico. Here is a look at our notable actives and inactives for our morning games, which are kicking off in just 15 minutes. Tony Pollard is out, as is David Johnson, Elijah Moore, and Darren Waller. Good news is that Brandon Cooks is suiting up to play, but J.D. McKissic, he's inactive. So my guy, Antonio Gibson, it's all on you. Kimmy checks Marcus
Your
Grant.
guy, Antonio Gibson?
That was a joke.
I was like, wait, did I black out? Did something happen?
I'm still mad at you. But you're the RB1 today against the Dallas Cowboys, so I can't be that mad. All game long, we've been asking you guys, all show long, we've been asking you guys to go ahead and send us your questions. So let's get to some final ones. Marcus, you're going to bat first. Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Jamal Williams if DeAndre Swift does not start, which he's not.
Well, this one's actually already answered for you because Jamal Williams isn't playing either because he's on the COVID list. So it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I would have said CEH anyway, but it's CEH by default because the other guys aren't playing.
Yeah, Lions not so hot this week with injuries and guys out. All right, Florio, next one for you. PPR. All of my running backs are hurt, basically. So do I start Darrell Williams or Deontay Foreman?
I would go with Deontay Foreman there. I'm with Marcus. I'm expecting a big CEH day. And then Foreman, I know he's split work there, but I think he is the goal line back, if nothing else. So hopefully he can get you a touchdown.
Hey, that was my waiver wire guy. I like that answer. All right, back around to you, Marcus. Pick two. Jarvis Landry, Chuba Hubbard, KJ Osborne, or Javonte Williams?
Well, KJ Osborne already played, so that's what it takes him out of the equation there. I would say Chuba Hubbard for sure. And as much as I like Jarvis Landry, I think I still go Javonte Williams. I know Melvin Gordon's supposed to be back. They're splitting time, but that matchup's really good against the Lions' run defense.
All right, do we have one more for Florio, or are we moving on to Sunday Funday? One more. All right, Florio, and they tweeted directly at you. Parker wants to know, Devontae Freeman or Kareem Hunt?
This is Parker. Yeah.
This is our Parker.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, Parker. Why don't you guys just ask?
Yeah, I know. I mean, we see you every day. This is very close. I said that I responded. I said it's close, but I would go with, I believe I said Kareem Hunt. That's the one I'm feeling a little bit better about right now.
Okay, I like it. Thanks for sending us all your questions. We're hoping our answers are getting you set for kickoff. Sunday fun day. The air horns are out, and it's time to predict our top score of the week.
It's going to be Alvin Kamara. We talked a little bit about the Saints. I mean, Jets. But also, because name me another offensive skill position player on this offense right now that you have any faith in, right? You can't really count on the pass catchers, be it Marquez Callaway, Traquan Smith, tight end is Juwan Johnson. This is going to be a situation where Alvin Kamara has all of that 41 he's wearing on his chest. That might be the number of touches he has in the ball game because there's really nowhere else to go with the ball. So I think he's going to get a lot of work. He's got a great matchup. I look for him to have a huge day today.
Not mad if he gets 41 touches ahead of the fantasy playoffs.
Need
your
an ice
top
bath
score,
after that.
yeah, you're going to need some rest. But your top score today is?
Same as last week, Javonte Williams. I know it's a little bit spicy to say with Melvin Gordon back, but the Lions are missing. Not only are they a great defense that you can run against every single week, they're a good matchup, but they're missing so many key starters on both sides of the ball. I think this is a game where the Broncos, even with Melvin Gordon back, could get Javonte Williams 20 touches. And if that's the case, we saw last week what his upside is. He's so explosive. I'm pretty excited. I would be starting him everywhere.
All right, guys, mine a little chalky, but not as much because just George Kittle's been the overall fantasy #1 at the tight end spot, but it's going to be Travis Kelce. When it's not George Kittle getting it done, it's Travis Kelce. That's why Travis Kelce leads all tight ends in terms of fantasy points. Historically, we always say Patrick Mahomes is great against the Raiders, as is Travis Kelce. You see back in week 1, he had the most fantasy points amongst all tight ends, just shy of 20 fantasy points. He's also had 90-plus receiving yards against the Raiders in 5 straight games. He's going to go off, and I'm so excited for all of it. But those are our top scores. Let's get to some must-start quarterbacks. Give me some love for a guy you're starting today.
I'm going to go with Rain Prescott because he's going to make it rain on the Washington. You know him as Dak, in case you were all confused out there.
Who's Rain? What did I miss?
Yeah, Rain Dakota Prescott. Look, the guy's been pretty good all year long. Washington defensively has had issues. I talked earlier at the top of the show that they've got a couple of defensive ends now on the COVID-19 reserve list. That's on top of Chase Young being out for the rest of the season. So I don't think they're going to be able to get much pressure on Dak. I think he's going to stand back there and sling the rock, and I think he has a huge day.
Yeah, I agree with Dak, and we've been giving the Chiefs a lot of love today. I think Patrick Mahomes is as must-start as Patrick Mahomes has been in a while.
That's right.
In the last 2 months, the only game he's looked like Patrick Mahomes was against this Raiders defense where he threw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. Plus, In his career, he averages 27 fantasy points against them, and in 7 games, he's already top 33 times. I think he goes off today.
Ooh. I need him to go off because I'm like,
too.
don't y'all besmirch my Patrick Mahomes. Like, he's not startable. He's not matchup proof. It's like, okay, I dare you to do an ounce of what he does. Love that must start. Florio. Mine is Joe Burrow, the guy you guys know that I say is the swaggiest quarterback in the league. I know that he got banged up last week against the Chargers on that first drive of the game. He injured his finger. But he's been confident, as have the Bengals, all week long that he can still get it done, and he can do it against the San Francisco 49ers. Guess what? Maybe if you don't have to throw the ball as much, you can run the ball. We've seen him be elusive and be able to cut off and get some ground on the work. That's good because the San Francisco 49ers, they have allowed the most rushing yards to quarterbacks this season. So even regardless of the injury, I like Joe Burrow, and I know we all like T. Higgins this week as well.
If I dislocated my pinky finger, like, there'd be a lot of things I wouldn't be doing. Like, I definitely wouldn't be coming to work or like trying to play football. I'd be like, my finger, like, that's it.
I fractured my hand and I used it to get out of doing stuff for 2 months. This guy's out here this week playing football.
Right, it's like him, Russell Wilson rushing back. I'm like, dude, take your time. Like, it's all good. No pressure.
Chill, bro.
But regardless, I'm all good on Joe Burrow. All right, those are our quarterback must-starts. What about some running backs?
My must-start running back for this one is Leonard Fournette. And I just talked about this, how this seems like a week where the Bucs can run the ball effectively if they need to. I mean, we've seen the last few weeks, the Bills have really been gashed on the ground. It was Jonathan Taylor a couple of weeks ago, then this past week on Monday night, where the Patriots just decided, you know what, we're going to play like 1920s style football and not throw it at all. We're just going to run it down your throats. So I feel like because the Bills' pass defense has been so tough, I think they just turn to Leonard Fournette and let him do some work. I don't think he scores 4 touchdowns, but I do think he gets plenty of work and plenty of production.
I'm hoping he doesn't score 4 touchdowns. Selfishly, I think James Robinson, though, is a must-start. And I know a lot of people are worried after he got benched last week, but have you seen the week it's been for the Jaguars? I mean, Urban Meyer denied benching him, and then it came out that, no, it was Urban Meyer's call to bench him. I think Urban Meyer tries to shut up a lot of people today and get James Robinson as much volume as he can. I mean, the quarterback's calling for it. All the players are calling for it. James Robinson himself is like, I don't know why I'm not out there. I know I'm your best player. So I think that we see James Robinson get a lot of work, and we know that if he gets volume, he's going to put up good fantasy days.
I will personally call Shad Khan. He has no idea who I am. I will personally call Shad Khan and be like, listen, Urban Meyer has got to go. If you do not give the ball and give the work to James Robinson. All right, mine was going to be Tony Pollard, right? I felt so good about Tony Pollard going up against the Washington FT, but with him being out, I'm fine to pivot to Ezekiel Elliott. And it wasn't a knock on Zeke in the first place to say Tony Pollard was a bit better in this matchup. But now, as he kind of is the only healthy running back on the team, I feel fine. You guys spoke about it earlier. One thing that Dak Prescott did is he got Tony Pollard involved in the passing game. That just opens up the opportunity for Ezekiel Elliott to do the exact same thing. I like him. I know he's been a little bit banged up, but the Cowboys have been optimistic and they have full confidence. So why should I not have full confidence in Ezekiel Elliott? All right, pass catcher time. Wide receivers.
We're going back to Cincinnati. We're on to Cincinnati, as Bill Belichick.
Oh.
I should we're on to Cincinnati.
Where's your sweatshirt? Where's your sweatshirt?
T. Higgins is the guy, and we've talked about this before. He really has taken over as the #1 target for Joe Burrow in this offense because teams have gone out of their way to take away Jamar Chase. So I think that continues. I think this is another game that just some reason I feel like there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. It could be an interesting shootout between Joe Burrow and Jimmy Garoppolo, which as a 49er fan doesn't really make me feel all that confident. But as a fantasy manager, I do like the prospects for T. Higgins today.
Yeah, I'm excited for Higgins. I think we all can agree that we all are excited for him today. Someone that you spoke about a little bit earlier was Hunter Renfrow. I think he is a great play today. Hunter Renfrow has just been getting a bunch of volume. He is low-key putting up wide receiver 1 numbers over the last 6 weeks or so. Third and Renfrow is very much so a thing. And if the Chiefs are going to be the Chiefs today, like all 3 of us are anticipating, the Raiders are going to have to throw the ball, and that means a lot of volume for Hunter Renfrow. I think he could get double-digit targets today.
All right, mine's a little low-key, but it's Russell Gage. We were saying he's actually been out-targeting Kyle Pitts and this Falcons offense, and he's going up against the Panthers. You would think, oh, no, that's a tough matchup, except the Panthers have allowed top 10 wide receivers in 2 straight games. Over the last 2 weeks, Russell Gage is averaging just over 20 fantasy points. I'm going to take the risk. I'm going to take the flyer and say to go for it. I think a safe floor and a good matchup. All right, tight end time. Marcus, who is it?
I'm going with your dude, Noah Fant.
I'm so happy today. This is a fun show. Chiefs and Noah. All right.
This could be, I think this is an opportunity for the Broncos passing game to sort of get right a little bit. The Lions, look, I mean, congrats to them. I know they got a win last week, and they're certainly very happy. But, this week, they're missing a lot of people in practice. They have a lot of guys either injured or on the COVID-19 list. They're just very shorthanded. And that's not good for a defense that's already had problems trying to slow down tight ends. So this feels like a chance for look, it's been inconsistent for all the Broncos' offensive weapons, right? They've been up and down in the passing game. This feels like a good opportunity for Fant to put up a good number.
I agree wholeheartedly. Yes, absolutely start Noah Fant against the Lions. Give me another tight end, though, Florio.
I'm going with Dawson Knox, and I know last week he disappointed, but the opportunity was there. It was just a weird weather day. And Marcus, to bring Bill Belichick back up, he was asked before the game, how is the weather going to impact the game? And his answer was, it'll impact it. So,
thanks.
Yeah, there's Bill Belichick. But Dawson Knox, I mean, we saw him get the long ball. He was targeted in the red zone. He is the Bills' red zone top target this year. So I expect that he could still be used. And I know some people are worried about the matchup. I wouldn't be. I would be starting him.
The Dawson, the Knox, we love it. Good for you and your Buffalo Bills. My tight end, it's Ricky Seals-Jones going up against the Cowboys with Logan Thomas being placed on IR. He's now the #1 tight end receiving option, and he has a decent matchup today. He's been averaging about 6 targets a game in the 5 games played without Logan Thomas this season, which is not so bad. Also, the pure fact that Taylor Heineke is silently having himself an incredible season. He's averaging about 2 passing touchdowns over the last 3 games. I think, like we've been saying all show, this is going to be a weirdly competitive game. It's a rival game, the NFC East. So, Ricky Seals-Jones, why not go ahead and do it? All right, those were our must-starts, but now it gets us to the time to give our fantasy locks of the week. These things are going to happen. It's Bible. Not so much. They're just kind of fun little predictions. We have fun with it.
Mine is that Trevor Lawrence is going to be a top 8 quarterback this week. Now, I mean, if you've read the reports coming out of Jacksonville, it feels like the team is like one step away from going varsity blues and just like locking Urban Meyer out of the locker room and just coaching themselves. In which case, that makes Trevor Lawrence John Moxon. Which means he's going to throw the ball down the field. Look, the matchup is very good. One of his best games this year for Lawrence came against the Tennessee Titans earlier this season. I think they push the ball downfield. I think James Robinson gets involved. But I do think this is going to be a good week that if you are in a 2 QB league or if you're just really hurting it. Look, I had a league where I thought about starting Mike Glennon and or Gardner Minshew. So
things happen.
Trevor Lawrence, he could be your guy.
Yeah, I love that call. I'm going with the quarterback here as well. I think Taysom Hill will be a top 5 quarterback today, mallet, finger, and all. Because, look, last week, 100 rushing yards. He threw 4 interceptions. He still gave you over 20 fantasy points. The Jets give up more rushing yards than anyone. I like him.
All right, mine's hot, mine's spicy. It is that the Ravens running backs are going to outscore the Browns running backs today. Do I have any facts behind that? Absolutely not. Am I just saying things to say things? Absolutely. It's going to be a weird game. Weird things happen. So, yeah. All right, guys, this is our show. Kickoff is happening literally as we speak. The Kansas City Chiefs are taking the field.
First time we've seen them today.
We are so excited for Week 14. Good luck, everybody. This was Fantasy Game Day presented by Geico. We'll see you next week for the playoffs.
Yay!